Hey everyone, we just witnessed another classic match at the World Games. The US and Canada met in the final, the US having a great defensive track record, but shaky offense, and the Canadians cruising through the tournament, suffering only 3 breaks through 4 games. There's so many twists and turns in this game. I'm going to take you through analysis of the first half, and stay tuned for Felix's analysis of the second, coming in a couple of days. Gagan Chatha's opening pull is bricked. USA set up in a split stack, also known as a T or a J stack structure. It's basically side stack with 2 attackers in the lane. The Canadian field matching players are poaching around the field. Molly Wedge is taking care of whoever of Chastain or Thompson makes the first move. This allows Anushka Beaudry to be hanging out off the screen deep with Florence Dion playing the matchup Dion Trope. Raphy gets the open under, Wedge passes off Chastain deep until she turns under and Dion switches onto her. Trope and Thompson both run deep, with only Beaudry covering both of them, but the US are never in tempo to hit the throw. Wedge could maybe do better to pick up Thompson coming back under, but Malcolm Bryson's near telepathic seal keeps the US behind the brick mark. Great Team D from Canada, and if you want to see another example of this poaching scheme versus this split stack, you can check out our Patreon only video on it. After the stoppage, Thompson fires inside, but Florence Dion comes up with the layout block.
Interference there by Canada, absolutely brilliant.
It's weird to see a US offense be so disorganized enough to send 2 cuts down the same lane off of the stoppage, and I wonder if that made Chastain pull out of her cut ever so slightly. Canada are resetting steadily on the turn but aren't making much happen. Wedge's swing is floaty enough to attract Hayes for a moment, so Chatha cashes in and gains separation, but the throw from Edmunds needs a more edge to avoid Hayes. It's really similar to Gan's poach block from the last World Games, where a poach player baits the thrower into leaving the throw just a bit too floaty and then gets the block. The US give it straight back when Marquez Brownlee can't quite get perfect position of Claire Trope's skyball huck.
And the big American just denied.
After 2 picks and few yards gained, Marty Gallant can't contend with Grant Lindsay's over-physical mark and puts the disc just out of Chatha's reach. Rafi Hayes capitalises on the short turn and the lack of help at the front cone, hitting Chastain for the first score. The Canadians get a confidence-building hold after Beaudry elevates and fires through the gap to Lauren Kamura.
Options as they go. Beaudry again, that's nice. Canada reply. No problems whatsoever for them.
The US field the inbounds pull much more effectively through Brownlee, Thompson, Trope and Kocher. Thompson has steps on Wedge and Kocher throws it. There's a miscommunication as Thompson stops and Kurahashi peels off the back for the poach block. A few passes later, Chatha pulls the trigger for a streaking Bryson and Trope gets the poach block.
The front. Jacobson, not the target. It was Bryson, intercepted, and who other than Claire Trope gets in the way.
I don't love either huck. Chatha's is difficult, and though there are a few defenders around, Trope's poach does seem harder to spot. It's a pretty visionary poach from her. Kocher's is one of those throws that you just can't throw because it's far too obvious. There's just always going to be deep help here, especially as Kocher has to kind of delay the throw to let Thompson get deep enough, which leads to Thompson slowing down.
Lots of nice options up front. Thompson, intercept.
Cami Groom unexpectedly drops the cap catch. On the replay it looks like she actually grabs it, but it's then stripped as the disc knocks into her thigh. After Bryson's roll and grab, Groom can't quite stop Kurahashi's cut or her dish Dion for the first Canadian break.
Here comes Canada.
USA get early flow from a blown switch, and then Carolyn Finney sends the breakside huck to Henry Ing. It barely gets far enough, it barely comes back in bounds, and Malik Oje-Samar barely misses the disc on the layout block. It's a clean hold, but it doesn't really feel like it. Interesting defense from the US here. There's an open under poach from Chastain that forces Quinn Snider's cut out wide, giving Michael Ing a shorter path to catch up and get the run through block around the outside. There is probably a foul here, but I like that Snider didn't call it as a player who likes to play with a lot of contact in the game. One of Kurahashi or Ojo-Samar needs to give Edmunds an easier out in the open under or break space here. Ideally probably Ojo-Samar cutting into the dump position, taking advantage of Kocher's deep buffer. On the turn this is maybe the US's best possession, offering constant easy options.
Disruption. Lindsley, and there it is. Thank you very much indeed.
Canada's offense is looking characteristically smooth, and then Culton makes this play. Beaudry calls foul, and on the replay it's tough to say. For it to be a foul here, Culton would have to initiate contact, which he did before and during Beaudry's play on the disc. Then you have to ask whether that contact was non-minor. Minor would be minimal contact force, which is true. It would have to not involve Culton contacting Beaudry's extended arms and hands whilst they're catching the disc, which is also true. I think Culton's hands gets there first and any arm or hand contact is initiated by Beaudry. And then you have to ask, did the contact alter the movement or position of Beaudry? That's where the best argument for non-minor contact lays. I think Beaudry could argue that the shoulder-to-shoulder contact and the contact from Culton's back pushed her out of the box and allowed Culton to make the play. It's so marginal. I can see why Beaudry called it. I can also see why Culton is aggrieved by it. Tell me what you think in the comments. Oh, hi Miranda. With half the stall left, Gallant tries to slash to the open side and is well poached onto by Dylan Freechild. Thomas Edmunds reacts instantly and bombs it deep before Michael Ng can complete the switch, but unfortunately Henry Ng is in the deep space already, and as Jacobson doesn't spot him, Edmunds has almost no chance to bring it down. A brilliant example of a cascading switch from the US. Michael and Henry particularly doing well to help the helper.
They're going long, but this looks very ambitious.
On the check-in, Freechild can't find any enticing option ahead of him. He knows Finney's poached with Kamura in the lane, so he swings the disc.
They're strong defensive players up for
Oh, there's an incredible intercept.
And a Callahan for Thomas Edmunds.
It's great heads-up awareness from Edmunds to be first to the scene of the errant throw. I'm sure many of you at home would be jogging up here with Michael, sacrificing your vision of the field. And it's Freechild being beaten at his own game on the handler poach, and unfortunately, it's not the last criticism I have here. Firstly, I prefer to see Finney very slightly closer here. Maybe you think I'm being harsh or nitpicking, but I think people underrate how hard height control is on a longer, flat throw. We'll certainly see more of these errors later in the game, and we've seen a very similar turn before, with Jack Williams centering over Finney's head and into the hands of Conrad Schlaw 3 years ago.
Picked off. Oh, this is a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
Next, I'm personally not a fan of the full spin by Freechild. This time it doesn't confuse or put off the receiver, but it's hard to think that it doesn't slightly misalign Freechild. I can kind of see the reason why people do this spin after attempting a hard wide pivot backhand around and faking, but Freechild here isn't even that interested in the backhand. There seems to be little reason to pivot the 270 degrees instead of just 90. Really great zone offense here from the US. Anna Thompson is creating a sustaining flow with nice give goes, and Marquez Brownlee's 6'2", 188cm frame is used to its full effect. I don't love the call to run zone here from the Canadian coaching staff. It seems like the US have been struggling plenty enough in poachy switchy match defense looks. Here's a really bizarre moment I've never seen on an Ultimate field before. Jacobson catches on the sideline, slightly rolls their ankle and is obviously in pain, but opts not to sub out. They can't properly find options, not that there are many. I suspect most of the Canadian attackers thought that they would stop play. In the end, they hoof it deep to Oja Samar, but Michael Ng gets a hand to it.
And you talk about the Ings being the factor in defence.
This is a really smooth US possession. This early drilled pass from Culton back to Lindsley is unusual, but allows them to switch the field to Freechild with ease. He hits Kayla Helton under, and she hits on her first but not the last huck of the game. Just a very well placed, non-flashy throw. Bookends for Michael Ng, and Snider couldn't even get that close. Kind of a weird start to this point, more poaching from the US FMPs. Chastain here lets Beaudry get the under, and then is turned around trying to block their direct line from Beaudry to Kurahashi. They were regularly trading, letting FMPs catch low yardage gaining unders or swings to have someone gumming up the cutting lanes and throwing lanes. The lane just gets completely congested here, with Trope picking Michael Ng. This is the poach pick, which I'm the least fond of and argued for the removal of in a previous video, though it's hard to feel much sympathy for Canada after Oja Samar's enormous push-off here. Kurahashi gets out of serious trouble with the lefty to the barely free Edmunds, who continues to Oja Samar, who shoots for Chatha.
Got a bit of space here now. Oja Samar, and that's great. That is really great by Chatha. He's really been a revelation this event.
Sick bid from Kocher. He could have gotten there if he didn't think Chatha had run out of room earlier in the cut, and great footwork by Chatha to tow it in. More steady offense from the US, Groom churning up yards and having the mentality to know her role and keep the throws easy. The Rhinos connect, it's Hayes around the corner to Freechild. An easy O possession for the Canadians opened FMPs all the way up the field, with Trope poaching in the deep space. In the red zone, Canada gets slowed down and clogged in the corners, but it's easy enough for Kamura. She says thank you very much to Michaeling and throws behind his head to Snider.
Canada, Kamura down the line. Thank you, Canada, patient as. Not to be denied.
Culton and Freechild failed to connect for the US, Freechild dropping the easy clap catch, perhaps thinking about the next throw. Canada play fast, generating a gender mismatch with Freechild on Kurahashi and Culton on Bryson. After Bryson offloads it to OJ Samar, Freechild charges back under to switch back onto Bryson, which leaves Kurahashi completely free, and though Finney poaches off Wedge to deal with the bigger threat, running to Kurahashi and leaving Wedge free, she can't quite get there in time, and OJ Samar has already delivered the throw, which Mika pulls down for the Canadian break.
It's absolutely brilliant by Kurahashi. Wow, and she had some pressure as well, Robin.
You know, Mika Kurahashi is known for making big grabs in big moments.
Galaxy point and Trope fires under for Raphy and immediately runs out of her throw. Raphy looks for the return pass, which draws the attention of Chatha. There's a moment of hesitation where Dion thinks Chatha is going to switch, increasing Trope separation, and when Raphy lets this beautiful touchy flick huck go, there's no help D and the US take half 7-6. A fantastic half of Ultimate. Stay tuned, there's more analysis to come very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.
As soon as she was able to throw the under to Raphy Hayes, she starts pushing up the sideline. You see Flo Dion kind of gets her hips turned around, and Claire Trope is able to use that isolation. Excellent patience by the United States offense to leave that space open for Trope.